In a lab in Japan, researchers measured what happens in a dog's brain during eye contact with its owner. The result was a hormone spike so specific, so mutual, that when they tested the same interaction on wolves raised by humans, it didn't happen once. Not once. Which means whatever is happening when your dog locks eyes with you across the room isn't instinct left over from its wild ancestors. It's something newer. Something that had to be built, specifically between your species and theirs. Most people assume the staring means one of two things. Your dog wants something, food, a walk, the door, or your dog is just being affectionate, the same soft, background kind of affection you'd expect from any animal that likes you. Both of those explanations are sometimes true. Neither of them explains what's actually happening in the 4 seconds before your dog decides to keep staring or look away. Let's start with the study that changed how scientists think about this entirely. In 2015, a team at Azabu University in Japan brought in 30 dog owner pairs and simply let them interact. No commands, no tricks, just sitting together, talking, making eye contact the way you would on any ordinary evening. Researchers measured oxytocin levels in both the dogs and their owners before and after. Oxytocin is the neurochemical your brain releases when you feel bonded to someone. It's the same molecule that floods a mother's brain the first time she holds her newborn. Here's what they found. When a dog gazed at its owner and the owner gazed back, both of them experienced a surge in oxytocin at the same time. The dog's levels went up. The owner's levels went up. And that surge made the dog want to gaze more, which released more oxytocin, which made the owner feel more bonded, which made them gaze back again. It's a loop, a self-reinforcing neurochemical loop, running in real time every time your dog looks at you and you look back. Then the researchers tried something else. They ran the exact same interaction with wolves that had been raised by humans from birth, hand-raised, socialized, as tame as a wolf can be. The loop didn't activate, not partially, not weakly, not at all, which tells you this isn't a leftover survival behavior from your dog's wild ancestry. It's something that evolved specifically between dogs and humans, sometime in the last 15,000 years, and it doesn't exist anywhere else in the animal kingdom. But the staring itself, the actual decision to look at you in the first place, that's a separate question. And the answer to that one is stranger. At the University of Milan ran an experiment with 75 dogs. They set up something mildly startling, a fan covered in green streamers, switched on suddenly in the room. Then they watched what the dogs did next. 83% of the dogs, after looking at the fan, turned to look at their owner. Not to check if it was safe to run, not to hide behind their legs. They looked at a human face, specifically for information. And this is the part that matters. The dogs didn't just look, they adjusted their behavior based on what they saw. If the owner's expression was positive, the dog moved toward the fan. If it was negative, the dog backed away. Animal cognition researchers have a name for this: referential looking. Your dog isn't glancing at you out of nervousness. It's treating your face as a live source of information about the world the same way you might glance at a friend's expression to gauge whether a situation is actually dangerous or actually fine. So when your dog stares at you from across the room, with nothing obviously wrong, nothing startling nearby, no fan, no stranger, no reason you can see it's running a smaller, quieter version of that same system, checking in, reading you, updating its model of what's safe, what's interesting, what's worth paying attention to next. That's the 4-second window. Look, read, decide. There's a third study that fills in a piece almost nobody talks about, not why dogs look, but how long they can hold it. A team studying canine attention tracked gaze duration using eye-tracking technology, the same technology used in human infant studies, and found that dogs sustain direct eye contact with their owners for significantly longer than they do with strangers, and dramatically longer than wolves sustain it with any human, familiar or not. In wolves, prolonged direct eye contact is typically read as confrontational. In dogs, it's the opposite. The longer the gaze, the calmer the physiological state underneath it. Your dog isn't fighting an instinct to look away from you. It has none to fight. And here's where the two earlier studies connect in a way that most people never think about. Every time that referential check happens, the look, the read, and you happen to look back, you're not just answering a question. You're triggering the exact same oxytocin loop the Azabu researchers measured, which means the staring and the bonding aren't two separate behaviors happening to coincide. They're the same system, running on two timescales at once, one check-in lasting 4 seconds. One bond building itself, gaze by gaze, over the entire life of your relationship. There's a detail from a follow-up study that makes this even more specific. Researchers found that dogs with a longer shared history of gazing with their owner showed a stronger oxytocin response than dogs with a shorter one. This isn't a fixed reflex. It's a relationship that gets measurably stronger the more you engage with it. Every time you look back, you're not just responding to the stare. You're reinforcing the entire loop for the next one. One more layer, and this is the one that explains why a puppy's stare feels different from an older dog's. Researchers comparing gaze behavior across age groups found that the strength of the oxytocin response scales with the length of the relationship, not just the presence of one. A dog that has spent 6 years reading your face has a more finely tuned referential system than a dog that has spent 6 weeks. Which means that stare you've stopped noticing, the one your dog gives you almost constantly after years together, isn't background noise. It's the most practiced version of a system that started, gaze by gaze, back when neither of you were sure of each other yet. Now, a caveat, because not every dog stare means the same thing, and this is where people get it wrong in the opposite direction. A dog staring with a relaxed body, soft eyes, and a loose posture is running the oxytocin referential system we just walked through. Connection seeking, information seeking, completely normal, and honestly, a compliment. A dog staring with a stiff body, a closed mouth, and unblinking, fixed eyes is doing something else entirely that's a threat display, not a bonding behavior, and it shows up in completely different contexts, usually around resource guarding or unfamiliar situations. Veterinary behaviorists are clear that these two are not the same signal wearing the same face. Context and body language separate them, not the stare itself. There's a third version worth knowing, too, because it's the one most likely to get mistaken for the good version. A dog staring intensely at a closed door, a bag of food, or a person who hasn't fed them yet is running neither the bonding system nor the threat system. It's simple, anticipatory focus, the same fixation you'd feel staring at a phone waiting for a reply. It'll resolve the moment the anticipated thing happened. If your dog's stare breaks the second you get up, that's likely what you were seeing, not the deeper attachment behavior. But for the overwhelming majority of dogs staring at their owners on an ordinary afternoon, on the couch, across the kitchen, from the foot of the bed, this is the soft version, the bonded version. The one running on 15,000 years of coevolution, refined down to a 4-second glance. So the next time you catch your dog staring at you, and you look back, remember what's actually happening. It's not a wolf behavior. Wolves don't do this, not even ones raised entirely by people. It's not a leftover instinct. It's something built between your two species, specifically running on a hormone loop that only activates because you're you, and because your dog has decided, gaze by gaze, over every year you've spent together, that you're worth looking at. That's not neediness. That's the most literal definition of a bond that behavioral science has. If this changed how you understand that, look, subscribe to this channel and drop a comment below. I want to know, how long does your dog hold eye contact with you before looking away?